Hello, beautiful angels. I just wanted to say hi today, and whew, the world is getting weirder and weirder every day, isn't it? I mean, it's a strange illusion of peace and tranquility, and as if everything might go back to normal pretty soon. And but it's an illusion. Trust me on this one. It's an illusion. Um, Not every place is doing it peacefully or tranquilly. Some people are just full on Nazi lockdown style right now, and Cuba's in really bad trouble. I mean, they even have people being where the teenagers are taken out of the houses and forced to be in the militia, the army, and go around and kill and arrest their own brothers and sisters in their neighborhoods. It's terrible what's happening there, and kids are disappearing. There's a lot of stuff happening, and there's a lot of people just disappearing there, and and there's a lot of people being killed. People just don't know what's going on in Cuba because they have the internet off, and nobody can tell their stories. Nobody can show anything that's happening there. Just try to find something on Cuba right now, and there's not much. And Venezuela has sent the military in to come and help in Cuba. So let's say a prayer for our brothers and sisters in Cuba. They're in big trouble. They're in terrible trouble, as if it wasn't already bad enough there. I mean, it's a full-on Nazi level takeover, and it's not good. And those people are having a hard time. There's no food, there's no electric, and I also want to say a little prayer for people who are in the flooded areas. There's a lot of flooding going on in certain areas, like Malaysia. There's flooding in China. There's flooding in Belgium. Places in Europe. There's places where people are really being put through the ringer with the floods, and that's also a really terrible situation. And there's also Turkey has all these fires going on, and there a lot of people are losing their homes. A lot of animals have died, and so there's tragedy just all over the world. And this COVID thing, is it even really real? I mean, there's a guy who runs a lab who made a video and said, "Look, I've been trying to buy a sample of the uh, let's see, what word could I use? Because I'm trying to figure out how to not get, you know, I've tried not to talk about these things and try to talk in code so that I wouldn't get deplatformed or anything like that. So, so, but trying to get a sample of the CVD thing that is going around like the flu for everyone, and you, they can't get one. I don't want to say that there isn't something there, because there is something there, but it's a blood clotting disorder rather than a respiratory problem. They realized that pretty close up in the beginning, but nobody would listen to that and kept putting people on ventilators when it was really about blood clotting, and basically just thinning the blood would have saved a lot of people. You can thin the blood with fish oil. You can thin the blood with vitamin K. If you want to go the natural ways, you can thin the blood with turmeric. You can thin the blood with, that's why you can't do turmeric too long. Even though it's a really great inflammation killer and a painkiller. And then of course there's pharmaceuticals that thin the blood, but I'm not going to go into those. I don't want to mention their names, but if you have been paying attention, you probably know what those are. And there's a lot of ways. This whole thing could have been over if the cures were allowed to be out there and weren't demonized right away as soon as someone started talking about them. Bolivia has a town where there's not a single case because they've been using something like, how do I say the word? It's dioxide, and if you reverse it, it's kind of like the bleach you use in your washing machine. I don't want to say the word because I'm trying to speak in code, I guess. But the thing is that we're headed for more lockdowns this fall. You just wait and see, and there's going to be more oppression coming. There's going to be a more forceful effort to get people to go along with the program, if you know what I mean. And I just want to tell you, angels, to hold strong. It's going to get worse. And you have what it takes, though, to get through this. If you are depressed, one person was saying, how do I even just get out of bed every day? It's so depressing. You know what? Now's a time for action. You don't have time to be depressed. This is a time for holding a space for the world. This is a time for prayers. This is a time for action on the physical plane, because it's not just about taking care of yourself spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. It's also about taking care of yourself physically so that you can actually be here and make the difference and be one of the ones who builds the new earth that is right around the corner. Maybe it's a pretty long corner, it's a wide corner. It's going to be a rough corner. We have to go through some rough times, but in the end, it's going to be worth it, because this is going to be a new humanity. It's going to be a new earth. It's going to be a whole new reality, and it's going to be nice, because really nice people like me and you are going to be left over to make it happen. So anyway, so it's going to get a little more difficult. We're not even halfway through it yet, and I've said that before, but I just have to repeat it again. You have to be really strong. You have to be a really ready angel to hold the space for what's coming and what's going on now. This is the end of an old paradigm. We all have been waiting for this paradigm shift for a long time, thinking, okay, the paradigm shift, way cool, we'll just all be light and love and just wait for it to pass. And it's not going to be that easy. You wish, right? I wish. But it's not going to be that easy. And we have to dredge up all the tools that we have had all these years been working on. All these spiritual tools, the meditation tools, the counseling skills, the counseling ourselves, the focus skills, the concentration skills, the skill to stay calm in a storm, calm in a difficult moment. These are all skills that you're going to have to pull up now and be a true Zen master. You're having to be a Zen master now, just like you know how. Do you know how? You're not as, shall we say, helpless, for lack of a better word. You're not as helpless as you think you are. You're not as helpless as maybe you might seem in a world full of big forces all around us, making their presence known. But the thing to do is to pull out all your strength, to pull out your stamina. When you get to the point where you're like, oh, I gotta give up, I just can't do this anymore, it's too much, and you keep going, that's where you find your strength. That's where you find your stamina. That's where you find your power. When you're like, you know what? I'm going to override all this emotional stuff. I'm going to override all the physical stuff. I'm going to override the mental stuff. And I am going to be a source of light and love in this world, no matter what. And even through your depression, work through this, just work through that. Even if you're depressed, it's okay. Take moments to be depressed and take moments not to be depressed. You have to learn how to turn it on and off. You really can turn emotions on and off. And trust me on this one, you really can. It's like musical notes on the piano. You play a negative chord, or you can play a positive chord. You can switch back and forth, and one of the ways that you can do it is to promise the negative emotion, okay, I'll come back and I'll deal with you. I'll come back and I'll face whatever your message is for me and teaching me. But right now I'm going to go and walk in the gardens with some friends because I need to self-nurture right now. Right now I'm going to listen to beautiful music, and I'm going to think about beautiful things for the world. Right now I'm going to do something positive. and I'm going to feel positive too. And I'm not going to let this whole depression about the state of the world or depression about the state of reality or humanity or sadness about how maybe nobody's standing up, that not enough people are standing up. But they are in some places. For instance, Sydney in Australia is totally locked down until they take the stingy thingy. Because it turns out Australia is one of the lowest stingy thingy uptake nations on the planet. They're third from the bottom. Maybe 20% or less, which that just shows what is in the future for other countries that are reached the end of the willingness to take the stingy thingy. I call it the stingy thingy because I bet an AI robot never thought of that word. Or those two. What do you think? So they've reached the wall. They hit the wall in Sydney, Australia. They hit the wall and nobody else will take it now. And basically they're like, okay, let's just lock them down until they do. And make them lose their jobs until they do. Make them not get medical care until they do. Make them not get food until they do. This is all coming. And if this doesn't represent and signify all the descriptions of the Marque de la Bestia, if you want to say it in Spanish, you know what I'm talking about in the Bible. And this means that we are in these end times now. We are here. And that means if your soul signed up for this, you were meant to be here. Even though you might be thinking, oh, what was this soul thinking? Not a good idea. I wish I incarnated in a better era. But it's okay. You're here now, and it's because you wanted to see the show. It's because you wanted to be here. That's why the population is so high right now. Everybody on the planet everybody who was in, all souls that were involved in the earth plane at some point or another and have a vested interest in humanity doing well and making it, even though it's going to look like we're not making it for a while, that's not the case. We're going to make it, but it's going to have to be a little bit of, since humanity is such a tough nut to crack, guess we're going to have to do it the hard way. But we're still going to make it in the end, but it's going to be a big drama. And every soul who's ever been here and wanted to be part of this and has a vested interest in seeing what happens to humanity, they're here now. That's why the population is so high. Every soul who's ever incarnated here is trying to get in here. And they have a right to get in here over souls who have never been here. So that's why we're having such a high population right now and high in entrance level in the past 20-30 years, was because everybody was like, quick, I gotta get in there, and I want to be old enough when it's happening to actually know what's going on. Even though you might be wishing that you're blissfully ignorant now, right? Dang. Well, here's the thing. How to find your strength is, you just have to, there's that Nike logo that says just do it. I can't really tell you how. You just got to do it. You have to reach down in there and say, do I really want to live through this big show? Do I really want to be a person who rebuilds the new earth? Do I really want to be a person who is a shining light to others as this happens? Do I really want to? Is where you have to find your strength. And that's where you find your strength. It's like, yes, I really want to be an influence in this world that's positive. I really want to be a light in this world for those who are lost in the darkness. I really want to be here to witness the birth of a new paradigm. This is a big event. This doesn't happen every day for any species in the universe. This is a pretty big event, and it's kind of news around the universe. Like, hey, remember that little planet Earth where they have those humans? Well, they're having like a renaissance right now. They're having a great awakening. Let's all go check it out. And it's sort of like we're on TV. we're we're kind of being watched because everybody wants to know how it's going to go. Everybody wants to see the ending, waiting with bated breath. And everybody knows in the end it's going to turn out okay. Just like when you're watching movies, you know somehow it's going to turn out okay and the hero's going to come to a solution and the hero's going to make it and blah, blah, blah. But along the way, there's all these lovely, wonderful, interesting, nutty details that are entertaining to watch. And it's not just entertainment, there's this compassion, there's this hopefulness, there's this holding space for a species that's been pretty much held down for quite a while, and it's about to become free. And this is a big deal. This is a pretty cool it's a pretty cool moment in history, in humanity's history. So, and in the future of the future history books are going to say this is the Great Awakening. It's going to be named the Great Awakening, not the Great Reset, not the Great whatever. It's going to be the Great Awakening. It's not going to be named the Apocalypse. It's not going to, and just so you know, apocalypse means a parting of the veil. It actually means a pulling back of the veil. It doesn't actually mean the end. Doesn't mean actually something terrible. It means like an awakening. It's like, whoa. So that's what's going on. So look at it more as a catalyst for evolution that has to happen right now, because it really does have to happen if humanity is going to get this. Humanity just isn't going to learn the easy way. And probably never does, but maybe it will in the future. Because if you start learning the easy way, then it doesn't have to be so hard. Kind of not rocket science there. But anyway, I mean, I'm guilty of learning the hard way too, so I can't really judge that. Which one of us can, right? Thing is you have to really want to be the light here. You really have to really want to be the love. You have to really want to be an influence here. You have to really want to have strength. So decide. Are you going to do this with grace? Are you going to do this with class? Are you going to do this with enthusiasm? Or are you just going to drag around and mope around and make yourself kind of tired and unhappy and depressed all the time about the fact that the humanity reality is basically coming to an end as we know it? But don't worry, you didn't do well in that world anyway. I mean, you might have done okay, but you know, you made it work. But for the most part, we didn't really fit in that world anyway. So a new thing's coming. And if you're a young person, you're going to have one of the most exciting things happen in your lifetime ever. And if you're an old person, you get to see it before you go. How lucky. You're going to have bragging rights in the universe when this is over. Everybody's going to be hanging on your every word in the universe as you tell your stories about Earth. You'll be like, yeah, I was there when that happened. Everybody will be like, wow, that sounds really cool. I heard all about it, and we came and watched for a while, but we couldn't participate except for just hold space, which is what they're doing. They're holding space. But, oh, I just noticed that tree has some dead branches there. Oh, poor little guy. So hold the line, 007 Secret Agents of Love. Just gotta hold the line. It's gonna get weirder. It's gonna get worse. It's gonna look like Sydney everywhere pretty soon. I'm hearing that there is a plan sometime in August to possibly lock down the United States again and hold it until 2022, the midterms of 2022. So we'll see if that happens. But here's the thing: I don't think this freedom is going to last long. I think that what they do is they let go a little bit and loosen the knot and make you think you're going to be free if you go along with the program. Problem slip there. If you go along with the problem, if you go along with the program, then you get to be a little free, so they're letting everybody be a little bit free so they get a little taste of it, and then I'm going to tighten the knot again, and just keep doing that until they can get everybody going along with the stingy thingy program. So you gotta hold the line. You gotta stand your ground, because non-compliance really is where it's at. That's the only way to actually fight this. And it's not going to be about war. It's not going to be about warriorship. It's not going to be about going and fighting. What's to fight? Where? You know, it's not like a French Revolution where you can just, storm the castle. The rulers of the world are spread all over the place, and you don't really know where they are, or if there's doubles and all this stuff. I mean, who knows? So you can't really fight in that way, even though it's a nice fantasy. It would make a good Hollywood movie. But the way that you fight this is non-compliance, and that actually is a very peaceful way to do it. It's a way to let your will be known, to not cooperate with the program. And if enough people do it, then there's safety in numbers, and those guys are just like so out of business. They don't have any power then, and they only have power as long as we give it to them and we comply with the idea of whatever it is that they're trying to do. So, well, thanks for listening to me today, and I hope that some of this makes sense for you. If it doesn't, just sit in meditation and really ask your spirit guides, and maybe ask God's self within you to make it clear what you're dealing with here and what you're facing. And some people are just saying, hey, if it's the end of the world, then I'm just going to party down. For some, that's perfectly fine. and if they're happy, that actually could add to the higher frequencies. So if you're one of those, party on. If you're one of the ones who is an angel, come here to help, and you're a 007 secretive agent of love, you don't have time to be depressed now. Time to take action on all levels: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. It is time to take action on all these levels and get into mission mode. I was depressed in March, April, and May, just thinking, oh man, we're just going to get dragged into this by the sleeping masses, and this is going to suck. And it does. But it's not as bad as it could be. I mean, it could be worse. You could be in Malaysia or Turkey, or in a place where there's all these floods and stuff. You could be in a much worse situation where there's literally no food now. So thank your lucky stars, see the silver lining, and see that it's not as bad as you might have thought it would be. It could be, or not as bad as it could be. But I was a little bit depressed in March, April, and May, and then at the end of May, I was like, holy crap, I don't have time to be depressed. I got to get into action. And so I started buying things. I mean, I had been stockpiling for years. I already have a lot of toilet paper and stuff, but I didn't have to buy one stick of toilet paper when the pandemic hit. So I wasn't one of those ones who bought a lot at that time. I had already bought some for 8 years before that. Just, every time I went to the store, I brought back a few extra. Because I am running a retreat center, and, wiping butts of 30 people, or 40 or 45 or 50. We've even had 75 people here. That's a lot of toilet paper, so I had to buy a lot. Anyway, when the pandemic hit, I had a little bit of a stockpile, so I didn't have to run out and not find toilet paper. So it's sort of like a good little example of how you can prepare now. The worst that happens, if nothing bad happens, for people who have doubts, like, oh, well, nothing bad's going to happen. Everything's just going to go back to normal. And as soon as everybody takes the stingy thingy, right? No, it's not. But even Klaus Schwab, who runs I think it's Council on Foreign Relations or World Economic Forum, something like that. Anyway, even he said it's not going back. Everybody's fantasizing if they think it's going back, and even he said, there's going to be a point where the population's really angry once they realize they've been duped, and that time will come. And even he knows that, and he said at that point we'll just deal with it, and sooner or later that those people will be gone, and then we can do our great reset, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. So the idea of getting prepared physically, get prepared physically right now, get prepared emotionally, because we're not even out of the woods yet. We're not even halfway through. We're maybe an eighth of the way through this thing. Who knows? You're going to be wishing for the days when it was just about a pandemic and sitting in your house and doing nothing. So there's that. Then there's prepare mentally, because you're going to see some things and understand some things and be aware of things that could break your mind. And some people really are going to lose their minds because they just won't be able to handle some of the things. And maybe you won't. Maybe you'll be lucky and you've positioned yourself well so that you don't have to witness that. But if you haven't, you probably will witness that. I suggest think about positioning right now. It's all about positioning, and prepare yourself spiritually. Be ready to be fearless and be willing to face the mortality that you are. Be ready to face death in a graceful and beautiful way if that is what's to happen. Because if you're not afraid of death, then you are capable of having a whole different reality here than you can if you're afraid of your death and afraid of dying and all that stuff. Meet the death now. The Buddhists say, die before you die, so you can live a fearless life. And this is what that means, is to meet your death, make peace with death, make peace with the end. Whenever it comes, okay, I'll do this gracefully, and I'm not going to struggle and emotionally, mentally about it, or spiritually about it. Sure, you're going to want to try and stay alive and stuff. I mean, that's primal instinct. I'm just saying that if you're at peace with death, then you can go about your life and not be afraid of, because really all fear comes back down to that. Anxiety, all this fear, it's living in the future, and it's worried that you're going to die, basically. First, you may think, okay, well, I'm just worried I won't have a job, or I'm worried I won't make my dreams come true. I'm worried I won't have a lover. Worried I won't ever have a family. I'm worried my car might break, whatever. Really, in the end, it all comes down to fear of survival. So if you meet that fear right now, then you're ready to be a force in the wilderness of this future we're walking into, so to speak. So prepare yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. We got a ways to go still, and you are the leaders of this change, this paradigm shift. You are the leaders. And you might not be all famous and have millions of followers on YouTube or something like that. I don't really influence that many people. I'd be lucky if, say, 200 or 300 people watch a video of mine once in a while, and one gets a little more, but not much. All my subscribers have no idea I'm still making videos. For some reason, they aren't. I'm kind of shadow banned, so it's okay. Whatever, it wasn't meant to be. But for the ones who can hear me, I hope that you are aware of how much you are the leaders. You are the inspiration. You are the ones who are going to make all these changes happen. And you do it at your local level. You do it with your family. You do it with your friends. You do it with, or join a group that is. Sometimes your family may not be the ones who you're going to be the resistance with, shall we say, so to speak. because they're going along with the program. program, problem. And they, so they're not part of this team that you're on. But find people who are part of this and people who are going in a different direction than the mainstream, and join with them and have a spiritual family. So you don't have to be alone. You're not alone in this. I really would suggest finding a community or something like that to be part of. I'm starting one here at Gaia Sagrada. I'm turning it into a community. I'm working on a website right now. And just looking for maybe 10 or 20 like-minded people to go through this change with who want to be here. So, and we're opening up for retreats soon. I'm honestly not sure how long that'll last, but we'll do it however long we can. And after that, we'll just be hunkering down and praying for the world and growing food and all that good stuff. I guess I'm going to leave it there for now. And I will talk to you later. Have a beautiful day.